If this summer you could come alive again? My new book is almost here. Peace is more expensive than lobster, a wake-up call with lipstick. And over the next 7 weeks, I want to take you on the journey with me. On Tuesday is a special wake-up call with lipstick podcast inspired by one of the chapters of the book. Wednesday at noon, we gather together for conversation, co-working, and encouragement. Throughout the week, we'll keep the discussion going in Pink Lady Posse, pull a few friction cards, and share surprises along the way. Then on Saturday morning, we come together for Think Pink. I'd love to spend a summer with you. Let's go. Hi, everybody. I'm Sandy Parker Martinez, and I am here with Romana Rocks, which is the best name of all. Hello, Romana. How are you?
Hi, Sandy. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Now tell us where you are.
I am now in Salzburg, Austria, which is the Sound of Music city. And yeah, in the
I'm,
heart of Europe, as I
I
say.
didn't know that, but I'm so glad you mentioned it. I was in a workshop one time and they asked us to locate our contribution, like who we are as a contribution, right? It's a really great question. So I go, I'm brave and I'm creative. Well, it made me think of that scene in my favorite music, favorite movie, The Sound of Music, where Julie Andrews has got that guitar and she goes, I have confidence in sunshine. I have confidence in rain. Besides what you see, I have confidence in me. And, I realize I'm creative and brave, but I don't always bring that to every area of my life. So the contribution I am to others, the contribution I am pretty naturally, I don't always employ for myself. Now, you are a writer, you're a writing teacher, you have writing courses and in different time zones. I love that. People around the world. Tell me what you see when you start working with someone about either writing a book or what do humans run into when they start to take action that matters? What do you see?
Yeah, many people are afraid that they don't know the outcome, so they get scared. For example, writing a book, I sometimes ask people then, or not sometimes, always,
Yeah.
what do you expect at the end? You hold your own book in your hands. What do you expect then? Yeah, then I don't know. That's what most people say. And I say, okay, then you have to market it. And then they go like, no, oh my God. Then I'm seen there outside. People will see me. I have to show my book and I'm too shy. So that's what I see in many, many cases that people, they then get scared because it comes to being visible out there. And that's one point where we work on, that I take that fear off them and show them what is stage presence. You need it as an author. There are very little authors who can like hide at home and just type and then deliver that draft and somebody else does the work. They're very little. And that's very interesting for me that so many people are very creative inside and they feel now it's time to get it out to the world. But then they get scared from, okay, how does the world respond? What's
Do
the answer of the world?
you find most people, and as humans, we project onto somebody else what's ours. So I see that I'm doing that right now. So what I was going to ask you is, do most people feel like they have something to say? Or is it a creative outlet like fiction or storytelling? What do you see in terms of their purpose for writing?
That's so different. So at the moment, I have a lot of students, and that's a mixture. Oh my God, I love it. There's, for example, a singer-songwriter who now wants to write his stories of a jukebox. That's what he calls it. What happens when you are the music player in a bar, what happens to you. He has loads of short stories. And then there's another lady. She's been writing poetry for over 30 years, and now we put her beloved poems together in a book, and she just said, I want to give this to my kids. It's mostly about them, from being pregnant till now they're grown up and have an own family. And I want to give it to them. So she just produced a little amount of books to give to friends and her kids. That's so lovely. And then there's another very young lady, and she's been working in a gallery for 3 years now in Salzburg City. Salzburg is a very cultural city. We have many art galleries here, and she has tons of stories about how people deal with art. And she said, I want to produce a novel with this content. It's her story, but we want to like build it to a novel. So these are very different approaches and very different ideas. And I had one student, she wrote a non-fictional book. She's an Amazon bestseller in Australia now. So like everything. And it's so, I really love it. If someone calls and says, I want to write a book, and then I ask that question. So the first question is, whom do you want to write it for? And then I get the story, and then I create our way together. Yeah.
Well, okay, you mentioned that you have writing courses in English.
Mm-hmm.
And so if anybody's listening and they want to write a book and they want to take a writing course, we're going to have a link there for them. But would you say it's really doable?
Yes. Yes. It is. When I started writing books, I was 44. I have been writing all my life, but never a book. And that was a real crazy story, because you have many um, words in your head for not writing a book. I've got no time. My job is too stressful. The kids, the whatsoever. And I got fired from my company at the age of 44.
Uh-oh.
I've been working there for over 17 years. So that hit me like, I didn't expect that. And I was devastated and cried a lot. And one day, in the first year of being unemployed, I sat there with my auntie, and she said, Romana, why don't you write a book now? You have time. I was like, what? What about? I didn't dare to think of fiction. I'm a reader, I read John Irving. So you instantly start to compare yourself to John Irving, and then you never write.
Right.
So we then grabbed some ideas, and I'm a gardener, a passionate gardener. I got all my knowledge from my grandma.
Oh.
And she said, why don't you write a garden book? You know everything. You're not a professional gardener, but you have those tiny grandma tricks. And I said, that's an idea. So I put together my ideas, wrote the first chapter, and then I booked an online course with a guy who said, I show you the basics in 4 weeks. And okay, I did that. And after 4 weeks, I had 2 chapters. I had the plan, the structure, and I sent this, which wasn't a finished book, to 12 publishing houses. And 2 of them wanted to have my book. So this guy prepared us so well that we didn't have the problem to find a publisher, which is the hardest thing on writing. And I then got one publisher and published 4 books with them. They were all happy. I was all happy. That was great.
It's
And then
awesome.
it is awesome. And that's that story. And I know now if you want to do a non-fictional book with the content for example, art stuff or gardening, that's what I did. I take a year's time. I want to be finished within a year with all the photos. I take the photos myself and all the layout wishes I had. And so if you're doing nonfiction, if you're doing fiction, you write the novel, you don't need all that knowledge stuff and pictures and so.
Right.
I know that you can write the first draft in a month, but then you have to stick with it. Like go on holiday, take 4 weeks and write. And this is the first draft. A first draft means you do the structuring work in the first week and your persons, your main characters work, and then you start writing and you do not stop for 21 days. After that, we do the correction, see if there's the storyline is right. Did you stick to the storyline or did your mind just run off with all your ideas? That can happen. But the first draft is possible in 4 weeks. I tell my students I have an 8 weeks course for that first draft. I always tell them in the first session, this is not a must. That's a can. You do not have to write it in this time because I personally prefer to take a year per book. So from since that's the right word, 2015, I've written and published 11 books.
Good
One
gracious,
every
girl.
year, one every year, one every year.
Well, I am just about to release my book that I thought would go much faster than it
Yeah,
has gone. And
yeah.
but I would sit down to write because it's about my life, but it's also an encouragement to women to live their life. And I would have these metaphors, these stories that were sort of the anchor points of the different chapters. And I would sit down to write it and I would just go, ugh. And then I thought, you know what I'm going to do on driving trips? I'm going to just turn on the recorder and tell the seat next to me, there's nobody sitting there, but just the story as if I were telling a friend.
Mhm.
Then I would get home, I would transcribe it, and it would be a lot of talking, right? And then I would like make it condensed to its most value. Then I had sort of the chapter framework. Then I started going back and sort of making it a little more, I don't want to say perfect, but making it a little bit more streamlined. And then I hired an editor who had opinions about my words. And so I really appreciated that because it was an objective viewpoint, but it was also grammar, it was also flow, it was also rhythm, it was also breath, like places where I needed more breath and it was going too fast. So I'm like, wow, this is a world. It's a whole new
It
world.
is. Yeah.
And then mine has beautiful images in it that support the concept. One of them is in my TEDx talk in November. I said, I felt like I'd gone backstage in a life I used to star in. And I have a beautiful image of a dressing room getting ready for like, a show or something.
Mhm.
And so I thought, okay, now what image, how do I want them to feel when they see this? Because then there's the words, and now there's how I want them to feel. So it's been a journey. And the talking to no one in the car was how I got off the stopped, off the on the going. It took something to get going. And it isn't because I was afraid of being visible. It was because I just buy into my own excuse that I don't know.
Mhm.
I just go, you know what? I don't know how to do it. I'm not even going to start. Do you see that in your clients? That's when they take her class.
Yeah, that's for example, we had in my 8 weeks group, we have now the very tricky topic, which I put on the end of the 8 weeks. Um, how do I find a publisher?
Yeah.
And what happens if I do not find one? Um, I know the situation over here in Europe is slightly different. So over here, if you really have a publisher, a real publisher, you never have to pay as an author. Never. Um, that's European. So I tell them if a publishing house wants money from you for doing the work, don't do it. Then go into self-publishing. That's
Right.
much better. But first of all, we set up an email. How do you write to a publishing house? How do you contact a literature agent? That is très chic at the moment. All publishing houses, all big ones, work together with literature agents. So how do we get in contact with them? And how much time do we give until we say, okay, that's been a try, it didn't work, and now I self-publish. And how does that work?
Golly,
So
what a
that was a
world.
whole session about that. And one of the ladies then said, oh my God, this is so frustrating. I thought, I write it and then someone like grabs it from me and wants to publish it. And I have to take that myth from them, right? There are so many writers out there. And publishing houses are businesses, so they cannot do it just as friendly work. They have to earn money with you. So we get rid of some myths, but also set up new ways. For example, book on demand companies where you really can, with very little money, publish your book.
Mhm.
And then every single copy is printed whenever someone orders it. It's perfect.
Right.
And start with that. And I want to like give them, um, I don't know, the inner power, the inner power to say, no matter what happens, um, now we've done the work. Now I know how the whole system works. And now, no matter what happens, may come rain or storm, I will publish it. Right? Uh, and it's lovely to see that release because first they see this, I do not find a publisher as a wall, and then that's the end. But it's not nowadays. We don't need a publisher.
Okay, I'm going to tell you a story. I promised I would. And then we'll tie it in because it's beautiful segue. So I had both of my hips and both of my knees replaced, right? And so for 30 years, I had not stepped up on a curb. My knees were painful. It was too much trouble. I was afraid of falling. And I would sometimes walk all the way around the building just to find the ramp up onto the sidewalk. Okay, so I had my knees replaced and I was in rehab. And, rehab is tough after knee replacement anyway. But this one day I came in and she had a platform there about 6 inches. And she said, I want you to practice stepping up because you're going to need to be able to step up on a curb. And I went, oh, no, 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 I don't. No, I don't need that because I don't
Where's my
step up on
ramp?
curbs. And she goes, yeah, well, you're ready. I said, no, I'm not. I'm not going to. And I left and I didn't. And I was so like conflicted with what a big wall that was for me. Then I came back the next week and there was that damn platform. And she goes, okay, let's try it. And I went, ah! And she said this sentence that rings in my ears even today. Your knees are ready. Your brain is not. And I'm like, how many times in my life am I sort of philosophically walking all the way around the building to find an on-ramp because I'm ready, but my brain is not. And when you were talking about the wall, I'm like, oh my gosh, that 6 inches had me totally stopped. So you were talking about one of the aspects that you enjoy about yourself, and I also do too, is the ability to see people expand what they say they cannot do. And it's not just about publishing, right?
Right. It's I'd say, as I'm an astrologer as well, of course I see more than normal people because I see the energies working. You know,
Ah,
I see, okay, she's afraid of structure. She don't want to be like too structured. So that's the wall you have to climb. When you want to write a book, the first part is structure, not creativity. First, we set up the structure, no matter if it's fictional or non-fictional. So, in my last course, that was one big release for a participant. She said, "Oh, she really thought she has to sit down and then something happens and then she starts writing and everything is okay." And I said, "No, even the big ones start with structure. Imagine Ken Follett with his 1,000 pages novels. You think he just starts writing? That's impossible. He has to do research and structure and chapters and characters. And if this is all set up, then we start. Sometimes our characters run away and do something different that we have planned for them. Okay, let them do and see what's happening. But first of all, we start with a structure and a storyline. And I just saw in her face, she was so released. Like, ah, that's a plan. Yeah, I needed a plan. Now I have a plan. How wonderful is that? And with another lady, that was so funny. She's a teacher, and of course, retired teachers, tend to know everything. So she came to me and told me in the first lesson, "I know everything, you know, I have the book ready. We even did the layout. I just wanted to have your opinion." And I looked at her and said, "What layout do you have?" "Yeah, my sister helped me. It's like a Word document." And I said, "You don't want your poetry book to be like a Word document. I mean, that's not a lay that's not a layout for a printing company." And then she said, "Oh, oh, now I understand." And then we could start working. So here it was more about um, giving the technical things she didn't know. And then I have a partner. They own a printing company, and he he's wonderful. You can go there, real person, drive there, touch the paper. You can touch the different paper and say, "That's the one I want for my book. It's lovely."
oh, I
That's
love
so
that.
old fashioned and so lovely.
Mm.
And they do the cover for you if you're not sure. You can touch everything, make decisions. Oh my God, it's lovely. And that's where I sent that lady, and she of course loved it.
Whoops.
And then now we had a book presentation together, and I just loved it. She was wonderful. I
Now,
mean,
you
yeah.
said you're an astrologer and an
Mm,
astrology teacher.
yeah.
Well, do they run parallel lines? Do they intersect with each other? Are you like a multi-dimensional diamond with all these facets? Like, how does writing, coaching, books, astrology, how does it all go together?
That's a real good question. Because originally I studied politics and I was working for a TV company. So all very technical, very science based. And the first thing that happened was the astrology. I had several accidents. I didn't know why, what's happening with me in my life. So, so that's where I came to the topic of astrology very late in my life at the age of 40. And then I was blown away from the first meeting I had with an astrology, and I wanted to learn that. I want to do that. So I think it's mostly because I'm so passionate about things that there is something I like. I want to really know how to do it. That was astrology. The next was the book writing. Then after 8 books, many people asked me, how do you do that? And I said, yeah, let me show you. And then I thought, okay, why don't I teach it? I know it. I've tried every way of publishing a book. And so one thing came to the other.
Mhm.
And as after I lost my job, I got self-employed. So I have my own business for 12 years now. And then it's possible to do something like that. Of course. There are days where it's getting a little bit exhausting when you have like 2 writing courses during daytime and then another late time course till 10 p.m. But I love it so much. It brings more energy than it takes. And that's the secret, I think.
So the name of my book is Peace is More Expensive Than Lobster. See what's getting in the way. And what I teach is my framework about friction, which is there are things out there that can be complicated. There are things in here that those are called curbs, ironically, right? And then inside are wobbles. And that's where something happens, but you make it mean something about you.
Mhm.
It's really not about you, but you find a way to make it about you, right? And then there's grinders, and grinders are the small things that seem insignificant at the moment, but repeated over a while become a drag, right? So I use the example, let's say I don't tell my husband what I think about something today. Then tomorrow he asks me and I just go along and then I go along, go on. And then months down the road, I would say, this isn't true, by the way, but it could easily be true. He doesn't care what I think. Well, it's over time, a pattern has become a grind or a drag. And that's why the use of friction, because in mechanical things, it's really a science. And there are ways that mechanical engineers soothe the friction, oil, right? Alignment, different things. So I've actually taken that framework and applied it to how we as human beings adapt. And then if we can see the drag, we can return to our say, which you were talking about it a minute ago, where they find their own power. Right. And I don't know in Austria if mothers say, because I said so.
They do.
Yeah. When my mother said, because I said so, no one really thought to ask her had she thought it through. Right. I mean, she knew her say. So in my world, until you see the friction or see the drag or see the truth of it, like I've been walking around buildings to avoid the curb, until you see it, you don't have access to it. I mean, you just don't have any power over it, just like the wall you were talking about. So peace is more expensive than lobster is coming out in 1st of September, and I'm really excited about it.
Oh God.
But
Congratulations.
thank you. But now, like you said, here comes the marketing, and I'm like, I've gone back and I will use this over and over with myself, but I don't know how. I don't know how. That's sort of my big permission slip to not be responsible.
Okay.
You know what I
So
mean?
you wanna know a marketing trick I tell all my
Yeah,
students?
tell me.
uh, you know where I sell most of my books?
No.
On presentations. And that's what I tell them when we come to the marketing part. Think global, act local. You can't imagine what that does. I have a little book where I put in cards from journalists, photographers, media people I meet. I'm in the newspapers, the local ones here, with every single book I published. They want to go there because local radio, local newspaper, they don't know what to write about. To be honest, right? They don't write about world politics if it's a small paper in a local area. So they are happy if you invite them to your book presentation. And what I tell my students is go to your favorite library where you get your books from, to your favorite bookstore, maybe an owner-run bookstore. That's how we call them. If it's not a large company having all
Right.
of those bookstores,
Mhm.
and tell them about your book and ask them, what if I come here? We do like flyers and stuff together. People will come to your shop. I sell the books. You get new people. Is that a deal for you? And I did book presentations everywhere. I did them in a garage with mechanics, right? They loved it. I did them at arts craft centers, libraries, in the secondhand store where you can buy clothes. I do them everywhere. Next one will be in a church. I did them in a museum. Go there, ask people. Many of them are really happy if there is some highlight. I did, for example, for a tiny museum, they always close during winter. We've got still snow and nobody wants to go
Right.
there in winter. So they needed an act for the opening Sunday in spring. And they asked me, would you present your book? And I said, of course. And that's where I sell my copies. At one presentation, 5. Okay, next presentation, 25. That's a lot.
Thank you
So,
so much for that
yeah,
tip because it's so easy to overlook the obvious.
yes, it
Which
is.
isn't it that way in life anyway? It's so easy to overlook the obvious.
That's such a secret because I overlooked it when with my first book as well. I'd never thought of doing that. But then the ladies from my library came up and said, we've heard you wrote a book. And I said, yeah. So would you like to present it here? We bring the people, we have them. There were 50 people. That's a lot if it's your first book presentation.
That's
Like you
wonderful.
get wiggly woggly knees, but you do it.
So I'm going to just say I want to give you the opportunity as a multi-dimensional woman to say if you had the chance to tell all the people listening your one shot at above all, do this, above all, live like this, above all, what would yours be, Romana? Above all, fill in the blank.
above all, laugh daily.
Mm,
Laugh on purpose, like like this, like laughter yoga, because this keeps you alive.
mm,
Laughing is that's beyond everything. It's beyond our overthinking brainies. If you're laughing out loud, you get a mixture, a cocktail of hormones. They help for pain in your body. They help against depression. You get your wrinkles off in your face. They
yep.
do everything. You sleep better. So that's the thing I tell all people who do like mental training with me. Um, do it for 21 days. Get up in the morning. First, what's the first thing you do after getting up? You go to the bathroom, brush your teeth, right? And before you do that, look into the mirror, tell yourself how wonderful you are, how freaking wonderful you are, and then give yourself a broad smile, like from one ear to the other, say, "You're so wonderful." And this changes everything.
Romana, thank you so much we've scheduled this several times. Today was the perfect time. Any other time wouldn't have been as perfect. And I'm so happy to spend this time with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for tuning in to Pink Lady Posse Podcast, where women go from what now to what's next. Come join us at pinkladyposse.com, where we share community, resources, and tools to support your next beautiful chapter. With love, light, and a little lipstick. See you next time.